Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, dear lecturers. I'm sure everyone that is watching this has played video games before, whether it be 2D games, 3D games, all the sorts. But what we are looking when we are experiencing these games and when we are playing these games are the assets. These assets can range anything from the game and story itself, gameplay and story itself, in which we experience, the audio, dialogue, and music that we hear, and even, of course, the visuals by the assets and the models that we see in these games. And for this progress report, in our presentation for PBL AN403, we'll be presenting our 3D game assets for Kuncara. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of our presentation, allow me to introduce you to our team structure first. First, we have the team itself. And from the top, we have Medica Pathrescia Sitanggang, and then Hafid Rahardian, and then Lubnaya Rhadya Tsabita, and then Nur Syaputri, and then me myself, Putra Alief Syauqi. And for our manager project is Yogi Ilhami, STFP, and then for the client, Insinyur Maria SST, MSN, IPP. And then for our output, we have 3D assets and animation tests. What does this entail? Well, we believe that we need a little bit more context before we get into the presentation moving forward. As for what it is, we have background information of our presentation and our output. So for to preface what we are making, so we are making 3D character assets for the game Kuncara, as I've said already, in which this game Kuncara is a trading card game in which we'll need a lot of character models for each character illustration, and which they will be representing what they do and what they are, which also ties into our next point, objectives. These character models will be ready to use for animators and developers in the future in case if they want to update or make promotional content or make gameplay related content using these characters related to Kunchara. And for the main idea is we are reinterpreting these 2D card illustrations into a 3D model ready to use for game development. Next slide.
All right. The next slide is talking about mood board. This mood board shows the visual direction of our project. On the left side, the Kuncara cards are used as inspiration for color, character design, and overall style. The cards have a fantasy theme with bright and varied color, making them look interesting and detailed. On the right side, the mood board shows PS2 era style models, which represent a retro 3D game style. This style is usually simple, a bit low poly, and look like character from old video games. The 3D character example below show how the 2D card design can be turned into a 3D model. Overall, this moodboard combines fantasy card design with a retro game style to create characters that are simple, unique, and visually interesting. The next slide.
And next slide is characters. There are 4 characters. The 3D models are based on the original card illustrations from PBL TP121 and are optimized in a low poly style for simple game engines like Unity and Godot. Each character features unique gameplay gimmicks, which we aim to reflect clearly in their design. And please note that these characters were not originally created by us, but come from the game engineering study program. We only use the card illustrations as a reference and starting point for developing the 3D character models. Next.
For the next slide, we have the environment. Although we have no obligation to focus on the environment, if our client demands us to create the environment, we have created a thumbnail sketch and 3D blocking that serve as a first step. As you can see from the slide, The main idea of our environment is mostly green plains filled with trees and other elements that thematically fit with the character that we have created. Next.
Next, this slide presents the proof of concept of our project. It showcases several 3D characters model that we will create for the game project. The image on the left show the 3D character design, while the image on the right show a rig test where a amateur skeleton is added to the character so it can move and be animated. Although we currently showcase only one complete character on the rigging, it is enough to demonstrate the modeling and rigging process within the scope of our project.
That will be all for our presentation and our output showcase. And that will be all from us. Good evening and thank you.